Hello, 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 everyone. Today is Friday, February 24th, 2023. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, and Real Live with Damon the Agent. I'm glad that all of you are here. Please take the time to subscribe to all of my social media platforms. The link should be at the bottom. I appreciate you all taking your time out to come on to my show today to check out the wonderful world of real estate and always a topic of discussion. So, today, like I always do, I like to begin my show with what's going on in the wonderful world of real estate. So, let me begin. So today I'm going to talk about understanding the markets. Okay. And the reason why I'm going to talk about that because people have a misconception about the market when it pertains to sellers and when it pertains to buyers. You know, people feel as though that a lot of times they can do the same thing and they don't understand. It really depends on what market we're in, what season we're in. It's just like when you're wearing clothes, you can wear shorts in the spring and the summer, but you can't wear shorts when it's freezing when it's freezing outside and it's snowing and it's ice. The same thing applies to real estate. There's some things you can do, but it really depends on when you do them. Now I know today, and with the internet, we have a lot of information that's being provided to a lot of people out there, so people tend to feel like they can grab a lot of information, and some people tend to think that they know, and in some cases some people feel as though that they know more than some real estate professionals, and in many cases they actually don't, because just like on many people's professional jobs where they get training consistently, so do we as realtors. So I just want to break down some things. I was taking some notes while I was waiting to come on just to share some things with you. So I want to break down, first of all, the markets. There is a seller's market and there is a buyer's market. And I'm going to explain what they are and how they operate. A seller's market is when the inventory is low and or the economy is strong. That normally produces a seller's market. And in a seller's market, there are some things that sellers can do and don't, and there are some things buyers can do and don't. So let me give you some examples. In a seller's market, a lot of times sellers are not willing to negotiate the price of whatever they list their house for. A lot of times they're not willing to negotiate fixing repairs on home inspection, and they're not willing to negotiate adjusting the appraisal. Like if the appraisal comes back lower than what your offer is, they're not willing to accept that. And in a lot of cases, they're not willing to help with closing costs in a seller's market. The reason being is though, because like I mentioned, when the inventory is low, the demand is high. For many people who purchased home last year and in 2021 and also in 2020 when the pandemic first hit, many people had experienced this. They were going out and they were making offers, and it was multiple offers. And the reason why it was multiple offers because demand was high, but also because the inventory was low. And when people were making multiple offers, sellers weren't willing to do anything. People were waiving their contingencies on their home inspection. They were waiving contingencies on their appraisal. The reason why is because the sellers were not buzzed. They knew that they had the advantage, and they knew that someone would buy their house as is in the condition that they want and overpay for it. So because of that, sellers had the advantage. That is a seller's market. So in a seller's market, buyers cannot do a lot of things that they feel as though that they can do from just previous whatever they did in the past or from watching TV. And some things are like when buyers are making offer, they cannot automatically just make a lower offer on a property because they want to, or because maybe they watch HGTV and that's what they told them to do. Buyers can't ask the sellers to pay all of their closing, or even in some cases pay any closing costs. Buyers can't ask the sellers to repair things from the home inspection. Buyers can't, or let me rephrase that. Buyers can ask for any of these things, but there's a high probability that the seller will not do any of these things because everything is negotiable in real estate. Please keep that in mind. But again, depending on what market we're in is going to determine how the negotiations go. In a seller's market, sellers 9 times out of 10 are not negotiating much of anything. That's just their feel on anything because they feel they have the advantage. In a buyer's market, so let me talk about a buyer's market real quick so you can get a clear understanding. In a buyer's market is when the inventory is substantially high, when it's high, and it's high for months. That means there are more houses out there than there are actually buyers to buy. So buyers in a buyer's market can ask for pretty much anything. They can negotiate anything. They can ask to lower the price. The house can come on the market. They could offer a lower price. They can get a home inspection and ask for everything to be repaired, including the kitchen sink. They can ask for closing costs. They can ask for, if the appraisal come back lower than what they offer, for the sellers to accept it. They can ask for all these things, and there is a high probability that the seller will do majority of these things in a buyer's market, because a lot of sellers realize that the pickings are slim. So when their house is on the market and then the buyer chooses to make an offer on their particular house, they know that the next buyer may take a while to come. So they don't want to lose that buyer. So in order to keep that buyer, they try to appease and please that particular buyer with just about anything that they ask. Now, all the things that a buyer asks for in a buyer's market, if they try that in a seller's market, it would most likely be rejected. And again, in a seller's market, if a buyer or ask for all those things to be done like they do in a buyer's market, most likely it will be rejected. Now, the reason why you have to understand what market you in is because that determines your negotiation. I've always, when I've spoken to people over the years, people have always say, how's the market? And my question to them is, which market are you referring to? Are you referring to buyers? Are you referring to sellers? And then once they say that, I always ask them, okay, which area are you referring to? Because you have to clearly understand that real estate is always local. Like, for example, I always speak on the DMV area because that's the area that I'm licensed in, and that's where I am at. So I always explain that what's going on, let's say in Springfield, Virginia, is not the same what's going on in Silver Spring, Maryland. What's going on in Silver Spring, Maryland is not the same as what's going on in Deanwood in DC. So you have to know about locations, and you have to also know about which market we're in. Now, the housing market always changes 3 to 6 months. That's why right now it is February 2023. If you go back to February 2022, it was a totally different market. But let's go back. If you go back to November of 2022, which was 3 months ago, it was a totally different market. The market is always changing. And a lot of times people tend to look at the media and they listen to what the media says. And you have to understand that the media is giving you a general picture of the overall. It doesn't necessarily apply to where you are at. That's why a local realtor such as myself, we are the local economists when it pertains to housing, because we have the latest statistics and we can tell you what's going on in that particular area. Like I said, when you look at the TV and you look at the news and everything, they give you the overall picture. So please keep that in mind. So when it pertains to markets, understand that a seller market favors sellers. It's where sellers are less willing to negotiate on price, repairs, closing costs, appraisals, pretty much anything. Sellers are less likely to negotiate in a seller's market. In a buyer's market, buyers are most likely to ask for everything that they can because they feel as though they can take advantage. So a lot of times, depending on which market we're in, that particular person tries to leverage the market in their favor. So buyers try to leverage the market in their favor when they're trying to buy something in a buyer's market. Sellers try to leverage the market in their favor when they're trying to sell their house in a seller's market. Now, someone recently asked me, what market are we in? Guess what, y'all? We're still in the seller's market. And the reason being is because the inventory is still relatively low. Now, here's the thing. It was shifting and it's still continually to shift, but it has not fully shifted over to a buyer's market. But keep in mind that no matter what market we're in, everything is negotiable until it's not. So with that being said, is you can ask for whatever you want if you're purchasing. You know what I'm saying? It's up to the sellers to reject. And as far as being a seller, people can ask whatever they want. Sellers don't have to accept. See, it when real estate, it's all about the terms of the contract that determine what the outcome is going to be. It's not just because, oh, this house came on the market, it's priced at 450. I want to offer them 425. I want them to pay all my closing. And when I do a home inspection, I want them to fix it. Doesn't work that way. You have to really study what's going on. And like I said, you can ask for anything. That's part of negotiation, but the probability, you have to understand how it's going to lean in your favor and how it's going to affect you. And then you also have to have a backup plan. Like, for example, if this does not lean in your favor, then what is your next step? Because that's what people fail to realize. Like if you make an offer, a lowball offer initially come on the market, what's your next step? I always tell people that, like, especially my clients, when we're making offer, regardless of what market we're in, if a house just came on the market, 9 times out of 10, you can't really make a lowball offer because most sellers are not going to really budge, because when your offer come in, they're going to feel like, oh, they can get another offer, or they're expecting another offer closer to that list price or higher. So a lot of times, what I'm saying, that quick, oh, let me offer from this, it doesn't work that way. You got to always run the comps. You got to always see what the comparables are. You got to see what the market is doing. You have to see what the average sold price is. You have to see all of these things to determine what your offer should and could be. So I just want that to be made clear that there are 2 different markets out here. There's a seller's market and there's a buyer's market. We're currently still in a seller's market. At the same time, we're still shifting, and depending on the market, you need to have a clear understanding where you are. Like, for example, the winter months had just went by. So during the winter months tend to slow down a little bit, especially around the holidays. Right after October, things tend to slow down because people are getting ready for the holiday seasons. You're talking Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, then we become the beginning of the year. So yesterday in this area, it was nearly 80 degrees. So people feel like the spring fever. So with the spring season tends to bring a lot of activity. When the days become longer and more people are out, more people tend to like to be out everywhere. And that includes viewing houses. So a lot of times the spring market is a good market for sellers. The fall and winter markets are really the best markets for buyers, because they're room for negotiation. Now, because we're still in a seller's market, the better homes that come on the market are going to sell quicker. They're going to sell quicker because if they're priced right, they show well, you still have buyers out here that are willing, ready, and able to buy. People were talking about the interest rate. The interest rate has gone down slightly, but at the same time, the interest rate is still relatively low. And you always want to buy a home now when you can afford it, and you can always refinance your house later, because the prices of houses continuously rise. And as the prices of houses continuously rise, you have to understand that people waiting on a lower interest rate, you may wait, and then it may be 3, 5, how many years, because no one knows when the interest rate is going to really go down again. And then the house has gone up substantially. Did you really win? Because when you look at your monthly mortgage payment, in many cases, it will be higher that you waited for that lower interest rate than if you were to purchase right now and just refinance once the interest rate did go down. So I just want people to have a clear understanding on the markets. We have several markets out here: a seller's market, a buyer's market. What's going on in the market depends on what you're trying to do in the market. If you're trying to sell, if you're trying to buy. And then also depends on how you're trying to sell and where you're trying to sell. And then also where you're trying to buy at, because all of these things have a factor on your outcome, what you're trying to do. So I hope I made that clear when it pertains to a seller's market and a buyer's market. So I will be right back. All right, people. I hope you all got a clear understanding on a seller and a buyer's market. And I wanted to talk about spoiled adult people. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because I realized a lot of us, in this country, especially United States, that's why a lot of times if you travel overseas or you ever travel overseas, a lot of people don't like Americans and they feel like Americans are spoiled, entitled, you know, and in some cases that's true. You see it every day. A lot of times the society it's more and more spoiled adults that display children behaviors, and that's what I wanted to really talk about: the behaviors of adult people. Sometimes it's mind-boggling that when I see people of age, and when I'm talking about of age, I'm talking about really over 25, 30, going up 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And I see the behavior, and it reminds me of children in elementary school. I just always say that age, because I remember Prince used to say in one of his songs, act your age and not your shoe size. And when I was younger, I really couldn't comprehend that. But then as I got older, I really understood it, because people do act the age of 9, 10, 11, and 12 as adults. We all see it all the time, but a lot of times people don't say anything about it. We see spoiled people, entitled people. People act as if they owed or deserve something, like something's supposed to be given to them just because they exist or because they're right there. But I'm here to tell you, nobody owes you anything in this world. Nobody owes you anything. No, you owe yourself everything. I don't care what you do. Your parents, they brought you into this world and they owed you legally until you were 18. If they choose to do after 18, that's your parents because they love you. But as adults, I see adult people out here who they act like everybody owes them something. And I don't know where this mentality has come from. I feel as though that we are spoiled society to the point where we've been given so much luxury in the world and in life, we don't really understand how good we have it. First of all, everyone who's even looking at this, if you woke up today, you have life. That is number one thing to be grateful for, because there's so many people who saw yesterday who did not see today. So that's the one thing that we all should be grateful for, is life. Number two is if you have your sanity, because all of us have been through so much in the world that we really should be crazy. We should be in a psycho institution. We should have lost our minds, but we didn't. A lot of people out here don't. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people out here who display the behavior of someone who doesn't have it all, But I'm just saying, as much stuff as majority people go through in life, you still have your sanity. And that is another thing to be very thankful for. The third thing is your health. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people out there who deal with health issues, but it's not to the point where, you're dead. I saw somebody in a wheelchair who was just grateful for life. And, and if I felt like if that person in a wheelchair was so grateful for life, us that's walking around, regardless of your health, regardless of how much you weigh or how much you don't weigh, we should be grateful as well too. But I feel as though that we're so spoiled in this world that we forget the little things that we have. We forget that there's always someone who has it worse than you. And that saying is true. No matter how bad you have it, it's always someone who has it worse than you. I saw something one time that said a person in a car was looking at let me go back. A person who was walking was looking at a person who was riding a bike. A person who was riding a bike was looking at a person who was in a car. Said, I wish I had that. Let me start it over. A person who was walking was looking at a person who was riding a bike and said, I wish I had that bike. The person in the bike was looking at a person in a car and said, I wish I had that car. The person in a car was looking at somebody getting chauffeured around and said, I wish I was getting chauffeured around. The person who was getting chauffeured around was looking at a plane and said, I wish I was on the plane. The person on the plane was looking down at the car and saying, I wish I was on the ground. So what I'm saying is, though, is sometimes where you at, somebody wants to be, but we don't even realize that because we're so spoiled in this world. And I'm talking about adults too. A lot of adults these days are not good examples to their kids. That's why a lot of times we have a lot of problems. And I'm talking about to grown kids and to little kids. We act so entitled as people, like someone owes us something, like somebody literally told you somebody owes you something. And whoever told you that, they lied to you. You owe yourself. You owe yourself the attention. You owe yourself the love. You owe yourself whatever you want to do in this world. Even if you're in a relationship, yes, it would be nice if the other person does do things for you. But again, nobody owes you anything. And that's what people fail to realize, because here's the thing. If you lost your health today, if you lost your sanity today, what do you really have? You know, what do you have? See, people don't think about that. And see, a lot of times I tend to think about these things and stuff because we got it good, y'all. I don't care how much little money you have. You can owe $100,000 to all your debt. Guess what? You know what I'm saying? You're still alive. You're still living. You still eat every day. You sleep with a roof over your head. There are homeless people in the world. There are people out here who don't even, you know what I'm saying, eat. They don't even know when the next time they're going to eat. People, we take water for granted. I know I done had like bottles of water with my kids all scattered, and everybody's about 7-10 bottles half empty. And identically, none of it belongs to none of them. But I think about all the people who wish they had good, clean water who are in foreign countries. You know, people complain about like, oh, the roof over their head. It's not, they don't have enough space, but you got a roof over your head. There are people out there sleeping in the streets. You know, last week in DC, they evicted a lot of homeless people over there in McPherson Square, you know, moved them out, you know, because they didn't belong. That's how they felt they didn't belong, you know. But here's the thing, those people who moved them out, I guarantee you majority of them went home and slept comfortable in their bed that night with a roof over their head. If it was cold outside, adjusted the temperature, comfortable. Think about this. We have the luxury of AC and heating. Our grandparents didn't have that. We had the luxury of the internet, cable. Our grandparents didn't have that. You know, we have the luxury of so much in this world today, but yet we don't act like we're grateful for what we have today. You know, again, there's so many spoiled adult, bratty, and I'm going to say bratty adult people. People act like things are owed to them. Nothing is owed to you, people. Nothing. I want that to be clear. Nothing is owed to you. You know what I'm saying? They say the only thing that we're guaranteed is death and taxes. Death and taxes. Everything in between there that we get is a bonus. It's a plus. We should be thankful. But we ain't thankful. A lot of people are not thankful for the things that they have. And say, to me, I look at people because a lot of times I observe people, I observe their behavior. You know, you have to be grateful for everything that you have. You should be grateful to see the sun every day. You should be grateful to lay in your bed every day. You should be grateful to eat food. You should be grateful to walk. You should be grateful to talk. There are people sitting in a hospital. Go to a hospital. Look at all the people sitting there. They wish they can be walking out the room, walking free, enjoying life. We complain about so much, really, when there's really little to complain about. And I'm not saying things in life are not going to get to people, because life affects us all. I don't care where you are in your life status. I don't care who you with, what race you are, what sex you are, you know, your height, your size, you know, life affects us all. We all bleed red. We all feel pain, and we all feel joy at times. But at the same time, many of us are spoiled, and we don't even realize the level of spoiledness that we are. because we're unappreciative and we're ungrateful. And then we start to feel entitled. That's why sometimes, like when I look at a lot of our adult kids, because I have 4 adult kids, and I know plenty of people who have adult kids, and I've heard a lot of my colleagues and friends complaining about their adult kids. And I said to them, we giving them everything, but we didn't give them the lesson. See, we gave them what we wanted them to have. We gave them what we didn't have, but we didn't give them the lesson. But at the same time, that same behavior I see in a lot of adult people too, where everybody wants something. Everybody want to be seen. Everybody want to be recognized. Everybody wants something. But at the same time, though, do you understand that life in itself is precious enough? Do you understand that we are blessed to be here? If you can see me right now, you are blessed to see with your 2 eyes. If you can hear me, you're blessed to hear with your 2 ears. Y'all don't even understand how many people are suffering in the world, how many people are in a hospital. When I go see my mother in a nursing home and I walk past those rooms and I look at those people ailing and aging, I'm grateful for who I am. Like, my birthday is next week and I will be 51 on my birthday. And I thank God, and I feel like I'm 27 and a half. And I always say that. I feel like I'm 27 and a half, but I will be 51, and I'm thankful for everything that I'm given. I'm thankful for life, because many people know my story. I lost all 3 of my brothers. I'm the 4th and youngest of 4 boys. And I lost all 3 of my brothers, 2 of them to gun violence in DC, And my oldest, I lost, he had a stroke while having an open heart surgery, and he was 45 or 48. It happened in 2010. That's why when my daughter Zariah was born, I was kind of nervous and worried about her, because she had to endure 2 open heart surgery. So I just say that, a lot of times people, I'm not one to judge anyone. I'm not one to criticize anyone in this world, because, what I'm saying, I have my flaws just like everyone else. I just say, look, take a look at your behavior, take a look at yourself, because we all can have improvement on ourselves. The problem is a lot of us don't have anyone to hold us accountable. And if anyone says anything to any of us, we get on the defensive, or we want to become argumentative, and we don't want to listen. And we want to say, oh, that's your opinion. But a lot of times it ain't an opinion, it's a fact. Some things are fact. Everything is not an opinion. See, some people are so on the defensive and so quick to respond that they're slow to listen. And at the same time, though, you'll never have correction, and you will remain the same. See, people improve by having correction, by listening, by learning, by reading, by talking to people who have been through things before them, But at this rate that we're going, we have these spoiled adult people, and then who are the role models to the younger people? Because when you look at the younger people, it's a lot going on with them. That's why there's a lot of carjackings everywhere. That's why there's a lot of low self-esteem everywhere, because there are no role models within the homes with the parents. Because when you look at a lot of the parents are so selfish themselves in many cases that they're only focused on themselves. But you don't even see that you are an image and a role model to your kids. So when they see you acting a certain way, they're going to act a certain way. So we all can use self-improvement. We all can be a better person tomorrow than we are today, because that's all it is about. It's all about you improving on who you are, not you competing with anyone else, because you can only be the best version of you. And that's all we can do, be the best version of ourselves, because there's no competition. See, you're your only competition. Look into the mirror. Be better tomorrow than what you are today. That's your goal, not anyone else. Being better, a better you, because God has equipped you with the ability to be you, the best of your ability, and to reach your full potential and to use all your talents. So I just say, when I see these spoiled adult people, please do a self-evaluation of yourself, because it's not a good look. It doesn't look good. You're out here acting your shoe size and not your age. And understand that maturity is really about maturity. It ain't got an age on it, because I done seen people 70 years old who act like they're 20. And I done seen people who are 20 who act like they're 70. So maturity has nothing to do with age. So a lot of times when people want to base things on age, no, don't base things on age. Base things on conversation and maturity and character and morals and values and who people are. Because it ain't about the age. Just like it ain't always about looks. It's about who people are. Because the core of who you are is going to determine the outcome of where you go and what you do. So I just wanted to share those thoughts about spoiled adult people. And I have on here spoiled adult, spoiled. That's funny. But let me come back with my closing remarks in 1 second. All right, people. I appreciate you staying with me. So let me go again and do a recap. I talked about understanding the market, which is the housing market. There's a seller's market. There's a buyer's market. Understanding a seller's market is normally when the inventory is low, the demand is high, and or the economy is good. So in most sellers markets, sellers have the advantage. It's their leverage. They're going to leverage it to them better. And in most cases, they're less likely willing to do anything. Not saying that they won't, because everything is negotiable when it pertains to real estate, but there's a high probability they won't. So understand that. And in a buyer's market, it is when there are more houses out there than there are buyers. You know, so understand with a buyer's market, the buyers have the leverage. A lot of times they can negotiate the prices. They can ask for anything and everything. And a lot of times they will. And it depends on which market we in, because normally that person is normally greedy, depending on what market we're in. But understand you got to pay close attention to the market, because the market's always changed 3 to 6 months. So like I said, in 2020, 2021, the beginning of 2022, it was in the seller's market. It had tapered off last year. And then it's coming back to a seller's market again. So stay tuned, stay close, or follow me on all my social media platforms, or you can always reach out to me at 202-618-1382 if you have any real estate questions. I'll be happy to answer them. And then I wanted to recap about spoiled adult people. We as people, we have it good. I just say we have it good. If you wake up every day and you have your sanity and your health, you're already winning. Because many people don't wake up with that advantage. They don't wake up in good health. They don't wake up with their right mind. You already have an advantage. Everything else that goes on in our worlds is normally up to us. But again, we don't act appreciative in a lot of things that we have, and we do. Like I said, there are plenty of homeless people out here who don't have a roof over their head. There are plenty of people out here who don't know when their next meal is going to come from. People don't have transportation, and a lot of people do, and they're so ungrateful, and they feel as though people still owe them something just because they exist. And I'm here to tell you, no one owes you anything because you exist. You owe yourself. You owe your greatest and best competition, your only competition, really. And if you feel as though you owe something just because you exist, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, because there are people who pass away every day, and they're missed greatly. They're missed greatly. You're still alive. So please do a self-evaluation of yourself. Check yourself out. Hopefully it will help you to become a better you. And I want to thank you all always for coming on here each and every Friday at 12 noon. Please follow me on all social media platforms. Follow me. Next Thursday is my birthday, March 2nd. Like I mentioned to you all, I'll be turning 51. I will not be on next Friday, but I thank you all on Friday, which will be March the 10th. Thank you always for coming on here. I want to say I greatly appreciate you all. And thank you again. Someone said, love it. Get on that piano and sing the word. I appreciate you all. Thank you again. Thank you, Instagram. And you all have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.